Hello and welcome to another MovieBoozer.com virtual pubcast. I'm your host, Ken Ekman, and I'm joined today by Bill Arsenault.
Hey, everyone.
And we have a special guest today. That would be Paul Scanlon of the company Legion M, which is a startup organization that has kind of excited me since I started reading up on it a few months ago. Paul, maybe you can tell me a little bit more about how you got started, but Legion M, for those who don't know, is offering the opportunity for movie fans and fans of pop culture in general to crowdfund a studio. Is that not correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. We bill ourselves as the world's first fan-owned entertainment company. And so for the first time in history, we're allowing fans to own a part of the company alongside of us and Seth Green and 42 Entertainment and Meltdown Comics and all the partners that we've kind of rallied together. Our goal is to, we call it opening the gates of Hollywood. We know that there's a lot of passionate fans out there, a lot of people that have very good opinions on movies and what should be made, what shouldn't be made. And we want to kind of coalesce that and harness it together. We like to say that Legion M it's more than a company, it's a movement. And we see ourselves as a community first. Yeah, there's a company there because everyone that participates in the community, if they've invested, then they're co-owners. They own a part of the company. That company is something that we want to create value in because we have investors and they want to participate for that financial value. But also it's a community. And it's something that we want fans to get emotional ROI out of as much as they do the financial ROI.
And one thing that really kind of excites me about it is this is a kind of a change of pace from the Kickstarter model where fans are able to effectively donate to something that they're interested in, as opposed to, in this case, they're actually becoming a direct investor, if I'm following the model correctly.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, this is, we love Kickstarter. We love Indiegogo. We think those platforms have been phenomenal for, entrepreneurs and for creators and for fans to, have more involvement and to help, bring new projects to the light of day. But this we think of as like next level, because in all of those cases, especially the entertainment ones, if you're participating in a Kickstarter campaign, you're really donating to that campaign. It's something that you want to happen. And, you might get a copy of the DVD or a coffee mug or a T-shirt or something like that. In fact, I did a Kickstarter earlier today. I contributed to the Bring Film Threat Back. I used to be a huge fan of that magazine. I don't know if you guys are aware of that one, but it's out there.
I actually... Yeah. I heard an interview with regards to that, and I was looking into that Kickstarter myself because Film Threat was really kind of my introduction to movie fandom in general.
Yep. No, I agree. Like, I remember. I mean, time goes by so quickly, but after I graduated from college was right about the time that Film Threat started to have a little bit of traction. I was an avid reader of it. And then, it went online and I kind of lost, I still tracked with it a little bit, but then, then it went away. And anyway, but so my point is that Kickstarter is great. I love it. We love it. We're huge fans of it. But for entertainment projects specifically, it presents some challenges for filmmakers and creators because more often than not, if someone's going to give you 20, 50, $100, whatever it is, you're going to want to give them the product. And so, they're either going to get a copy of the DVD or access to the stream or something like the Veronica Mars, movie was funded that way. The challenge is when you take that property and then try to make it commercially viable, you've already diluted it by going effectively straight to DVD. So you're not going to get a theatrical release. You're not going to, and you're really limiting your sort of monetization and commercial success of the property. And so in our case, first and foremost, you're getting equity. You own a piece of the property alongside of ourselves and the creators. So if it's successful, you can participate. We see it almost orthogonal from a Kickstarter campaign, because in a Kickstarter campaign, number one, the fans are donating, the filmmaker gets the money, and that's great, and the project gets released, but the commercial opportunity is diluted. In our case, it's the exact opposite. We're increasing the commercial opportunity for the creator themselves, because now, instead of having, a few, big investors, they can have a legion of fans that are ready to get behind their project and help build awareness and spread the word online and light up the internet and do all the things that matter so much today.
And one thing that I think that would inspire, especially knowing that their money is an investment, that they can actually get something out of that on later on in the back end, that encourages them also to spread the word even more. With a Kickstarter, you can donate it, and you said, I've put my money in, and now I'll just move on to other things until I hear back.
Exactly. You're not going to have a material impact on that project once you've invested in it. And in our case, this is really the fundamental thesis for us, is that having a legion of fans that are united together to get behind projects can have a lot of benefits for creators and filmmakers and for the industry as a whole. I mean, one of our, I think all of us probably, we have a complaint about, we love Hollywood, but we get frustrated by Hollywood. Hollywood's owned by Wall Street, right? And being owned by Wall Street means you got to make money. It's all about the bottom line. And in our case, when you're owned by fans, yeah, of course, the bottom line matters. But we also see a benefit from having a movable fan base, because it means that we can actually reduce the risk of investing in a new property that no one's ever heard of, and maybe having the potential to create a franchise in it, instead of just rebooting things that have already existed and have people following them.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, there's something to be said about the system. It does have, for instance, everyone speaks about the Marvel franchise being so successful based on the fact that Disney has catered to those fans in a very heavy way, while at the same time opening it up for larger audiences. But this is going to help to encourage fan bases that maybe are still building, that haven't reached meteoric sizes.
No, that's exactly right. Well, one of the guys that actually has gotten involved, and we're super excited about it, is Stan Lee himself. And he's not getting involved because he feels like Legion M can make a difference for Marvel, any Marvel property, which it won't. But he's getting involved because he understands how important fans are, and he loves the idea. In fact, one of his quotes that he said to me when I was, I had the opportunity to meet with them and to share our plans and our mission and everything, and he said, Paul, he said, I think a fan-owned entertainment company is such a good idea. I just wish I had thought of it myself. So I thought that was high praise coming from the legend himself.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And of course, Stan Lee his empire was built on fans, really. And that's something that I'm sure he remembers. And so let me lead into this then. Since Legion M is a newer organization, it really was just founded this year, correct?
Yeah. I mean, we just finished our first, what we call our seed round. It was $1 million round. It wasn't a huge round. And the way the Jobs Act is what's enabling our company to do what we're doing. And so we raised that round. We just closed it, less than a month ago. So we started it in May. And we've got now 10,000 people that are supporting us. And, we've capitalized the company with $1 million. Our long-term goal is to have 1 million shareholders, as 1 million fans as shareholders. And, that's our long-term goal. We don't expect to get there in like the next year or two. But we'll open up another round in the next month or two. Right now, the average investor is putting about $400 to $500 in. So if we do get to that point, we'll have $450 million to invest in projects that have 1 million people excited about them.
Now, do you have? I know on your website you have listed a few, without getting into specific details, a few ideas of some projects that you may be looking into, or types of projects that you're looking into. Yep. I'm sure right now it's too early to comment specifically on exact projects, but of course, if you have any, feel free to share. But my more important question that I'd like to ask is, what is your do you have a time frame set for when you're going to make are you planning to start with one project, or are you planning on several being put together around the same time to sort of spread out your funding?
That's a great question. So, for us, we all know that Hollywood's a hit-driven business. And so people are investing in Legion M as an entity, as a company. You co-own a company, and our goal is to continue to expand that company. That company will have a slate of projects. We have some ideas that we're developing right now. We have one idea that we've announced with Stan Lee that I can talk about, so we'll tell you about that in a minute. And we have several that we're looking at. In fact, my co-founder and I are heading down to Fantastic Fest tomorrow morning. Partner, one of our key partners, and we're looking at some content together there. So we'll be making announcements about new projects as we go. Our goal is to just keep expanding it, right? Because we'll be able to open up further rounds of investment so that we can continue to invest in and get behind more projects.
All right.
So, those projects will be in, movies. We're definitely looking at movies. We're looking at TV series. We have a bunch of pitches on TV, and we're looking at even some literary stuff that we can develop into television shows. And our first project is a VR project, actually. It's a virtual reality interview series. And one other thing, I've got so much to share. I'm just going to keep rattling.
Sure.
But cut me off if I talk too much, because I tend to do that. But we're also sponsoring the virtual reality experience at Fantastic Fest and Beyond Fest. And one of the companies there, if you're not familiar with these guys already, might be an amazing guest to have on the show, is Dark Corner. I don't know if you know Dark Corner. I'll send you guys some links, but they do some of the coolest VR work that I've ever seen in my life. I mean, they're horror VR, so it's kind of dark and scary stuff, but they're going to be showing that at Fantastic Fest and Beyond Fest. Where are you guys, in the Bay Area?
Actually, I'm out of the Chicagoland area, and Bill is actually out of Louisiana.
Oh, really?
New Orleans,
cool.
Yeah.
I'm from Chicago. I grew up in Chicago.
I was reading that, and I saw you went to Wisconsin-Madison.
Yeah, I'm a Badger. Yeah.
One of our site co-founders, Zach Jeremiah, who joins us from time to time on our recordings here, he actually lives up in Madison. So.
Oh wow! Okay, cool, nice. Yeah, I love Chicago. It's one of my favorite towns.
Yeah.
So Legion M.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, but Legion M isn't just a film. It's I didn't know this. I thought it was just a film production company. But
no,
you guys,
we're entertainment.
Your hands, multiple. Wow.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we want to be diversified. I mean, we see value in the movie space, and we know that we can. There are some specific gaps that we can meet there, and actually, we have one really cool movie that hopefully in the next. I don't know, these things take time, but pretty soon we'll be able to talk about. But then, I mean, we look at television is in kind of a golden age right now. I mean, there's just such great production value going into television, and from a business model, it's a growing space, and there's a lot of opportunity there.
One line I heard, speaking of television, and to kind of merge into this a bit,
yep.
I forget where I heard this quote, but someone said the best summer movie of 2016 was actually a TV show, and it was Stranger Things on Netflix.
That's true. That's true. That's an amazing show.
And that seems like the exact.
Look at Game of Thrones. I mean, Game of Thrones is. I mean, if you had to pick, I mean, for me, if I had to pick one, you know, someone asked me, what's your favorite movie this year? I'd probably say, well, Game of Thrones was my favorite entertainment. I mean, the lines are blurring. So
that was a heck of a season for sure.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah. It's the one thing that I really, I like about the streaming model is it does encourage these smaller culty groups to kind of expand a little bit. And when that happens, you suddenly find that you have fans of this, you have fans coming out of the woodwork who you might not have expected. My brother, for instance, I would never have guessed that he was a fan of any kind of fantasy stuff, but Game of Thrones is like an obsession for him.
Oh yeah. Well, Game of Thrones really transcended, I think. It so many people are into it. Yeah.
And that's where I think a company like yours comes into it, as far as a movement, engaging fans and getting people excited about things that maybe they didn't even know that they had a reason to get excited about. Right. And so may I ask you, how can fans get involved other than through funding?
Yep. So that's a great question. So we don't require you to invest to be a participant, to be a member. So you can go to our website. It's thelegionm.com, and there's a place to sign up for free. And we're not actually accepting any money right now anyway, so because we're between rounds of finance. But, you know, and one thing we tell people, because, you know, for us, it's really important that anyone that does invest understands the risk of investing. You know, we don't want anyone putting their college savings, you know, or their retirement savings in our company. I mean, we're a startup. It's a high risk but high reward. You know, we want people to kind of, you know, we want to give them transparency and make sure they understand what they're getting into. So it's perfectly reasonable for someone to come and join for free and come along for the ride. And, you know, hopefully if they like what they see and, you know, see the value that we're creating, they'll want to also, you know, participate from a financial standpoint, but it's not a requirement.
And so you're encouraging voices to be people to make their voices heard with Legion M, even if they don't have the ability to finance, as a way of helping to drive to drive the direction of your company.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we have a motto of no fan left behind, right? So we we know that not everyone can afford to make an investment. First of all, I mean, we tried to make the investment as low as possible, so it's $100 minimum. But we also realize that there are people out there that maybe, you know, aren't thinking from an investment standpoint, but they want to be supportive and they want to be involved and they want to be a part of a community like this. I mean, the value that we create within Legion M it's only partially factored on how much money we have. The real factor is how many members do we have? How impactful can we be by uniting behind a property? Can we actually move the dial? Can we get, you know, something that was virtually unknown? Can we put it onto the radar and get it picked up? The other thing is that, you know, we see the Legion as our source of material as well. So we have, you know, we haven't set it up yet, but we are in the process of setting up a submissions platform so that anyone, you don't need to be a member of the Legion, by the way, to submit a script or a story idea or something to us. But, you know, we also see that once we have that platform set up and we have a lot of intake, we want to actually allow the members of the Legion to help us evaluate them, right? Okay. And, you know, I mean, we've already seen amazing. I mean, we have a private Facebook group. I'm happy to send you guys a link if you want to check it out, where there's already an amazing community forming around Legion M. I mean, so much so that, you know, we've seen now multiple connections result in business relationships, right? Where, you know, one of our members has a line of comics that he has done, and he's just gotten them published from another Legion M member. We've had local self-organized meetups all around the country now. So New York and Florida and Southern California are organizing themselves and getting together and having a coffee or having a drink and talking about Legion M. We've got member has tattooed the Legion M logo on his body. Happened this weekend, and there was another member that said, "Oh, you beat me to it. I had just been to the tattoo artist and was working on it." So this is what we're developing. So
yeah, and that really sounds engaging, and I would like to, first of all, I would like to see that Facebook group you were mentioning, because it does intrigue me. I want to learn a little bit more about the workings of the community. And one thing that I mean, do you know if there have been any Chicago-based meetings to your knowledge?
You know what? I'll have to check. I'm sure there have been, and I know we have investors in Chicago because I have family there. But yeah, I'll have to double check. I'm pretty sure. I mean, honestly,
you might call those charter investors.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and it looks like one of our other members has just joined in. Must have had a time. It looks like Bill Leon's popping in.
Okay.
We'll give him a moment for his system to set up. But in the meantime, I'm going to ask you another question. I know this has been a busy year for you, obviously setting up the company. Yep. Have you found time to see any 2016 movies? Do you have any suggestions? Any specific thoughts on anything that you might want to highlight?
Well, I do actually. One of the movies that I think has triggered a lot of it kind of provoked me in a way and has gotten me thinking about a lot of different things this year was Ex Machina. I don't know if I'm sure you guys have seen it.
Oh yes, absolutely.
A24. And
absolutely.
What I like about that movie is that it was it's not a big, it didn't come from the Marvel universe, or it didn't come from, some existing franchise, or, one of my college roommate and good friend of mine wrote 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I also think is an amazing, amazing movie. Actually, let's rewind. That was my movie for this year.
Well, Ex Machina technically came out last year, so I think that's
good.
Yeah.
All right, good. All right, then I'm safe. There you go.
Well, first of all, 10 Cloverfield Lane, what I love about the genesis of that is how it started not having any real association with the Cloverfield aspect, and that was sort of morphed into it in order to, first of all, raise the profile of the film a little bit. And it was kind of, I thought, a brilliant / devious / brilliant, again, idea of making a tiny little independent horror thriller suddenly become a blockbuster.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I would use that as an example of something that and I understand why they did it, and I'm grateful that they did, because Matt's a friend of mine and I'm so excited about it for him. But for me, that movie could have and should have stood on its own, the same way Ex Machina was able to do. They didn't need to link that to 2001: Space, or like to some other thing, to give it the traction that it deserved.
And I agree, it could have definitely stood on its own one way or another. I will say the good thing about that is the first Cloverfield has it's so different from what you get in the other film that this film still had something to prove. Yeah. And that's an important thing. When you're introducing someone to a film like that, you have to prove something. And I think it I got to be honest, I think John Goodman's performance is one of the best of the year. I know Hollywood doesn't like to give Oscars for that kind of a film, but I think his performance is a nomination.
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, I guess I'm happy that it, but I also know how it was written. I didn't like the ending. It felt tacked on to me.
You know what? I had that same criticism in our review of it when we spoke about it. I think the rest of the film more than holds its own over that ending. and there's plenty of movies out there that have a so-so conclusion to a great build-up.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to shoot it down that much for it as a critic. But you're right. It's a less even ending than it could have been, and either way, though, it's, I think, an interesting example of how they were able to propel an otherwise very small idea onto a bigger stage.
Yep.
And of course, that's something, of course, I'm sure you guys will have thought about and are taking to heart as a kind of concept for the future.
Yeah, I mean, we want to be, we don't want to necessarily just be investing in mainstream stuff. I mean, we want to make money. So we have three sort of criteria that we evaluate projects by. I mean, the first one is obviously, can we monetize it? So we're not in this necessarily just for the pure art form, creating an art, project that can't be commercialized. We probably would avoid something like that as much as we still would want to support it. But also, how interesting is it and how cool is it? Does it do something innovative? And, like there are some movies that were shown at Toronto and that we're seeing at Fantastic Fest that we think are kind of breakthrough. And, they involve some big people and they're, but they're not mainstream necessarily, but they're taking chances and doing things to kind of, that I think are progressive. And then go ahead. Yeah, I was just going to say the last criteria is, does it have a benefit? Can things have some sort of a benefit on society or the entertainment industry or these things? I mean, that's a criteria that we wouldn't ignore.
Now, I know that we're nearly out of time for your conversation here, but I did want to get in one more question about your ideas for distribution. Now, are you planning at first to shop around your projects to different distribution groups, or are you looking into the possibility of distributing like a self-distribution model?
I think it'll be, it'll depend on the project. So we, as a company necessarily, we don't have one specific distribution platform. So if we're developing a television show, that would be something that we would probably ultimately want to, take to the network or take to a Netflix or take, and because again, we want to monetize. And so we want to use all of the monetization channels available to us. Over time, and as we grow and scale, we think there's opportunity for us to go direct. If we've got 1 million people in our audience, in our community, that, there's opportunity for us to produce movies and TV shows that we can go directly to our members with. But again, like in the VR project that I spoke about, that would be something that we would self-publish because those platforms that's the primary way to monetize in that platform.
Okay. Yeah, and the VR project is particularly interesting to me since that's kind of that's a very new thing that's kind of coming back.
Yep.
So can you tell us a little bit more about that VR project?
Yeah, sure. No, I'm excited to tell you. So, we call it a virtual reality interview series. And the way we kind of think about it is, virtual reality has gotten to a point where the resolution and the quality and the experience is so good that we want to be able to preserve an interview with someone so that for generations to come, we can give people the opportunity to have the experience of being in the room with them for the interview. So most VR is shot with the dome of cameras pointing out. We're going to shoot our subjects with the dome of cameras pointing in. So 41 4K cameras, surrounding the interview subject. The first subject is Stan Lee. So Stan Lee is, very supportive of this project. He's in his 90s. He's still amazingly energized and an amazing person to be around and to be close to. So we want to interview him in an intimate way. So each interview subject gets to choose who does the interview so that they can feel like they can open up. So we would shoot Stan Lee, and then we'd put him in an environment, and the experience for the viewer is that you can go and be in the room with him. You can get up close to him. You can listen to him. Over time, we might incorporate some AI so you could ask him some questions and things like that. But the idea is to long-term build a library of these icons. We call it icons face-to-face. And so really the point is to build a library so that, anyone, anywhere on the planet can have the experience of being in the room with these icons, and, even 100 years from now can still have that experience. I mean, it's almost like the closest thing we have to a time machine.
Yeah,
that's incredible. It sounds like the movie Her.
Yeah.
It's sort of like Her if it was mixed with the intimacy of like a podcast, where it's just that kind of just you listening in on a conversation between two people.
Yeah, exactly. And being there in the room with that person.
Exactly.
With just a touch of Lawnmower Man.
Exactly.
Maybe if they used, maybe that could be a future idea. Put in the Lawnmower Man style special effects, the CG.
That's a great idea. Well, so we've announced that Stan Lee is doing this with us, and we actually have a list of other people. We haven't made any other announcements, but there are a lot of really cool people that are deserving of having this kind of experience. I mean, we like to think. I mean, imagine if you could sit in the room with William Shakespeare or Martin Luther King or Prince or David Bowie or Kurt Cobain, and there's so many people that we don't have that chance to do anymore. And so we want to be quick about kind of getting these interviews done with people that we think.
That's I was going to say that's a very valuable thing to do. I mean, it's not just interesting from a personal perspective, but for historical purposes, cataloging that, having that out there. I mean, Stan Lee's a great example. He's certainly getting up there, but he's got so many decades of knowledge and experience to share. That's right. I mean, our long-term goal is to have this library available. It could be in schools, it could be in museums, it could be in a local library. The whole idea is to propagate it out so that these people can touch more people than they're able to do today. Yeah, I am definitely there, and I can't wait to hear more about that project as time goes on. Well, Paul, I know you. We were told you had a heart out around this time.
Oh, so. Yeah, I'm sorry. I need to go pick up my kids somewhere. So.
Oh, okay. Hey,
wow. Okay.
I want to thank you very much for joining us today. And,
it's my pleasure. This has been great, and I like what you guys are doing too. I mean, I know I'm not interviewing you, but at some point I'd like to learn more about what you guys are doing as well.
Absolutely. Stay in touch, and if you have any other thoughts to share, feel free to join us at any time. Let us know if you're interested. We can send you another link. Okay.
Perfect. Yeah. And will this link be ready right away, and I can post it in Facebook, or?
When we're done recording tonight, I'll go ahead and I'll email you the link to the YouTube Hangout recording that will be available. And then once we have the audio version for SoundCloud, I'll send you that as well. That might take a couple days.
Whatever. Yeah, when you're ready, then I'll post it on our Facebook, and then I'll also, if I have your email addresses, I can send you guys a Facebook link.
Absolutely.
Yep. We'd love to have you in there. I'm sure you'll get a kick out of it.
I appreciate that. Well, thank you for your time, and go pick up your kids.
All right. Likewise. Thanks, guys. Take care.
All right.
See ya.
See ya. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, that was cool. I like Paul.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about Legion M. And, of course, come the time of the next investment round, I might be doing a little bit of research on that. I really was compelled by that. The VR aspect especially interesting.
The VR aspect killed me. I thought that was a really cool. And to incorporate artificial intelligence that they're thinking of doing, so that way the questions are molded to the specific user. The answers are molded to the specific user. I think that's really bold and audacious.
Who's the host of this interview show?
Oh, the interview will actually the host of the interview will differ based on the guest. So they're allowing the person to choose their own interview subject.
I want to see Paul interview David Byrne because I think they kind of look alike.
Oh,
I think he'll get a kick out of that comparison once he watches this recording.
I personally consider that sort of thing a compliment. So yeah, that's
David Byrne.
I like that.
I just ran over David Burns.
So, well, now that the interview portion has been concluded on this episode, we're going to go ahead and talk a little bit more about some recent movie releases and some other recent film subjects. First of all, I haven't had a chance to ask you guys yet. What new films have you seen in the last week?
I watched, of course, I saw Snowden, which I talked about last week.
Right.
I saw Blair Witch.
Which I've heard people have been liking Blair Witch. I've heard a lot less good than bad about it.
Actually, some people critically, it's not getting good reviews.
Oh, really? Okay.
I personally liked it, but
the reviews I've seen of it are surprisingly positive for the most part.
Yeah. Well, okay. I didn't get a chance to see this. There was this independent film that came out near me called Kicks. It's about inner city kid who loses his sneakers and he gets into like a fight about it. It's supposed to be really interesting, so I'll probably be seeing that soon. And I'm going to be seeing The Birth of a Nation tomorrow night, as well as Magnificent Seven over the weekend. But as far as last week, it's really just been Blair Witch.
Mm-hmm.
I would be very interested to hear what your thoughts are on Birth of a Nation. But since Blair Witch is kind of the biggest profile film, I've only seen a couple independent films. So we'll start with Blair Witch. Give us your thoughts. First of all, give us your thoughts on the original film.
Ooh,
right.
The original film. Okay.
I'm interested to hear this because I've actually been contemplating if I should watch that or not because it's like...
Have you seen it?
No, but you have these two camps of people. And I assume the one half is people that like saw it in theaters when it came out because the one side of the argument is that it's really innovative and it's a good movie. The other argument is that it's boring as hell and just slogs on and on.
So I first heard about Blair Witch at Dragon Con '99. At that time I was living in the Atlanta area, which is where Dragon Con happens, and I saw these flyers for what said was a movie, but it was done up like as a missing persons thing. It said, "Have you seen this person? Last seen in Burkittsville, blah blah blah." You know, footage was found, that kind of thing. And I thought, "Is this real? What is this?" I was like,
Heather!
"Yeah, exactly. This can't be real, right?" And my cousin and I, we were up late watching Showtime, and they showed it wasn't For What You Were Thinking. We were watching movies. But we
it's not like you said Cinemax here. You said Showtime.
Yeah.
I said Showtime, but even Showtime would show,
Showtime has those. I gotta say, I don't think I had Showtime at that point in time. I didn't get into Showtime.
This also isn't the 90s. I mean, I'm sure those shows are still there, but the only people who watch those are people who are in a hotel room and don't have the money to pay for premium.
Yeah, but you gotta understand, when you're growing up and it's the late 90s, that's all you got, man.
Exactly.
If you have cable, that's all you got really, is to stay up late and
have no doubt. I remember a time before the internet, but go on with the Blair Witch.
But I think we were watching The Substitute or something really stupid, and just laughing at it. And they showed a trailer for the Blair Witch Project, and we huddled together like in fright. We were scared to death by it, like by what it suggested and implied, and we were genuinely wrapped up in fear. And also at the time, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety issues.
Okay.
But I was still willing to go see this movie because I've always been a big film buff, and no matter what, I'm willing to take the chance on a movie in theater because at least I'm in a theater. I'm like in my comfort zone. Mm-hmm. So my mom took me and my brother to go see it. And we watched the film, and it was not what I expected. It wasn't like it was very slow moving. It was dull, but it wasn't dull in a boring sense. To me, it was dull in just the atmospheric sense. Like it was very low key. It was very subtle. Red Letter Media has a perfect little analysis of it on their show Review that's up on YouTube. They did not like the new Blair Witch in their half in the bag review. They really destroyed it. But I guess I can see their point of view. But as far as the original goes, I mean, I really enjoyed it, and it was kind of. I have this film critic friend, Chris Henson, who talks very highly of the Scream series. For him, Scream was his middle school.
Why don't you have a seat right over there?
Yeah, right, exactly. It was one of his movies that defined his early years, teen years.
I thought you said Chris Hansen.
No, Chris Henson. That's his name.
We got the joke, Bill.
Yeah. For me, it was kind of Blair Witch Project, because that was a kind of movie that I wanted to make. I had a video camera. I would make little short films with my friends, and that was the kind of like it got released in theaters, so the possibilities are endless. It represented for me like almost a new world of thinking, a new world of creativity, and I really liked that. Of course, it jump-started a whole genre of crap, but
which didn't really take effect until like 10 years later, which is interesting.
Until 10 years later, right? Which is weird, but yeah, once that kicked off, like I think that was Paranormal Activity that really,
which was 2010, I believe,
got going hard, and then that kicked off the whole thing. So going into this new Blair Witch, directed by Adam Wingard, written by Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett, who are like a duo. Forward to this, if only because I was a huge fan of The Guest. I'm also a fan of Adam Wingard's work on the VHS series. I think he's a good, clever filmmaker. I think he knows what he's doing when it comes to horror, but also when it comes to genre, like action even. If you watch The Guest shifts between horror and action very quickly and goes from 0 to 150 in like a blink of an eye. So he's someone who knows how to play around. He's kind of like a Jason Eisner, the guy who did Hobo with a Shotgun in a way. He's a lot like, he's got that kind of mentality towards filmmaking where it's not quite exploitation, but it's in love with the certain kinds of tropes and how to break the rules of those tropes.
Certain aesthetics, I would say too, like his visual
aesthetics.
style.
Yeah. Blair Witch, the new Blair Witch, I did not get to see it in Dolby Atmos, now promoting in a few locations, including a location near me. I wanted to see it in Dolby Atmos because I heard this movie has great sound, which it did. The sound design was you would feel it all around you. It was like 3D sound or something, And but I go into the movie. There were only a few people in the audience. This was the Thursday night showing, so I didn't think it was going to get a big crowd anyways. And they showed nothing but like dumb horror trailers, like Ouija 2, Annabelle 2.
Oh God!
I happened to Don't Breathe when I saw that a couple weeks ago. It inevitably they seem to think that if people go to a horror movie, all they want to see are horror trailers, and that's not necessarily the case. But
if you have good trailers to show, that can build a good atmosphere. But
these were just crap trailers.
Yeah, you're talking about like some shit here.
See, I like my trailer presentations the way they used to in the '90s, where it would just be trailers for whatever's coming out. They didn't cater it to specific movies.
Yeah, it's like you ever see Rocko's Modern Life? There was an episode where they go to the big multiplex and they go through
Googleplex Cinema. I love that episode.
The Googleplex Cinema, and they go through different movie trailers, and it's different genres. It's totally different, movies. And that's exactly what I remembered in the 90s. And now it's it is a little bit more tailored. It's kind of like the Facebook of movie theaters. It's tailored to what you post and what you comment on. So it's tailored to you specifically. And it's like, well, what about the unknown unknowns? What about the things I don't know that I'm gonna like? That kind of
not to get too into this topic, but like
Okay.
I remember Sausage Party had a nice variety of trailers when I saw that. It seems like comedy films, they actually kind of go with variety.
I think it may depend too on if the movie has a lot of things that you can play off of it. Because if there aren't a lot of movies related to it, you're not going to go to Sausage Party, for instance, and then just have nothing but animated film trailers.
Oh yeah, I don't think they showed a single one during that.
Could you imagine them showing the Wildlife, trailer beforehand, and then they show Sausage Party, and it's like, whoa.
Yeah, well, first of all, I can't believe they actually showed trailers of the Wildlife. But back to Blair Witch. So it's directed by it's directed by Adam Wingard, right?
Yes, and written by Wingard and Simon Barrett, who have worked on other films like The Guest and You're Next, the VHS series.
And apparently, one of his next projects is a remake of I Saw the Devil.
Supposedly, yeah. He's working on a film right now called, I think it's called Death Note. I think it's an adaptation of a manga.
What?
He's saying that's going to be like ultra violent. So I don't know if I'm looking forward to it because it's ultra violent.
Death Note's a big series. It's got a big like it's probably one of the as far as like financially successful animes to come overseas. That's probably in the top 10.
Okay, cool.
So he must be getting into Asian cinema because I Saw the Devil's also a Korean film. So
okay, well maybe there is something to that. But Blair Witch, it kind of follows in the same vein as found footage films that over time start to acknowledge the growing evolution of technology. What I mean by that is it's not like they only shoot on DV cameras or film cameras. Like in the original Blair Witch Project, they had consumer grade DV camera and they had an actual student film camera, like a 16 millimeter or something.
Right.
In this movie, they just have DSLRs. They have Bluetooth earpiece cameras. They have drone cameras. They go nuts with the camera technology. But
where's the truck they park out back to, recharge these things every 10 minutes?
Right. I guess they just brought a shitload of batteries with them or something. It's always like something that you can kind of pick a hole at. The movie is set in 2014, which is about 20 years after the events of the original Blair Witch Project. And they mention this movie is kind of like, it's the same concept. It's the assembly of footage that someone found out in the woods, left by some documentary filmmaker. And the documentary filmmaker in this movie is again a woman, and her best friend is the younger brother of Heather from the original.
Heather!
Yeah, exactly right. So that Heather, yes, and he remembers going searching for her as a kid. He remembers all that stuff, and he remembers the footage that was found. So I don't know. It's not clear if in this movie the Blair Witch Project is also in existence, or if that was like like that footage from the Blair Witch Project was compiled for police purposes. I don't know what the situation is with that, but in the context of this movie, he finds on YouTube someone has uploaded new footage that was just recent, and it's of a girl in a house that looks very similar to the one that they saw in the old footage. And he's like, I think that could be my sister. So he and his friends and the documentary filmmaker woman, they go out into the woods to investigate this house. And they take along with them this redneck couple that live in the area who uploaded the footage. And the guy walks around with like a little consumer grade DV camera, like mini DV or something. And anytime it switches to that footage, I was really on board with this movie. Not to say I was ever off the board with this film, just to say I preferred that VHS aesthetic over clean, smooth digital. I got nothing against clean, smooth digital. I'm just saying if I have to pick in a horror film, I would pick grainy film or grainy analog digital.
Well, yeah, clean HD video kind of takes away from the realism feel of, which is weird because I mean, granted, everyone and their mother has an HD cam on their on their phone nowadays, but the fact is that when translated to the language of cinema, if it looks too clean, then there's an artificiality to it.
This reminds me, actually, we forgot prior to Paranormal Activity, there was Cloverfield, and that's all digital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but there's a difference in that. In that they weren't filming out in the woods. When you're out in the woods, you're thinking dirty, you're thinking mud, and stuff like that. So you're thinking like, okay, the aesthetic should probably match the environment to some degree.
Absolutely.
Not 100% necessarily, but somewhat. And in the case of Cloverfield, they're in the city, so things have to be a little bit crisper and quick and on the go. So they're probably using like palm quarter cameras. But
you can definitely make footage creepier, making it look like a VHS that's like beat up and shit.
Yes, definitely. In the case of this movie, Blair Witch, what they do to kind of mess up the footage is they kind of do some digital glitches every once in a while, which I don't know if those even occur the way they occur in this movie.
First of all, I've never been a fan of those digital glitches. I know exactly what you're talking about just because there's so many found footage films that do that. And it looks fake. It feels fake. The only thing worse is when they do digital like film scratches.
Yeah,
those look horrible.
It's like, you guys remember Unfriended, the movie that takes place all on a desktop?
Yes,
I do. Yes.
Yeah, that great little film where the guy puts his hand in a blender because computer voodoo.
I mean, I did not see that movie, but
I want to because I've heard every review I've heard of it makes me want to see it.
I saw it in theaters. I think it's well worth a watch, at least once.
You reviewed it on here.
Did I review it poorly, or because I thought it was actually, looking back?
You gave it a modest review.
I think we were laughing a lot. I think we were laughing a lot just at your descriptions of things that happen and the way
it's laughable.
If I'm not mistaken, your recommendation is that was something along the lines of, this is one of the few films you've ever seen where you would actually recommend someone watching it on their laptop rather than on a big screen.
Oh yeah, something like that. Okay. Yeah, I did review this movie for Movie Boozer too. Like I wrote a thing about it. But no, what I was getting at was yes. What I was getting at was the glitches in that, because it takes place over Skype, made some sense, because obviously we're doing this podcast on Google Hangouts, and every once in a while Bill Leon's internet connection starts messing up.
It's like every 2 seconds.
And he gets glitchy sometimes. So those glitches make sense. The kind of glitches in Blair Witch are kind of, it's more like visual noise, and it doesn't quite match up with how they're shooting it or how it's being cut together. It's not beat up. It's just like it'll glitch for a second and then it'll move on. It's hard to describe, but it just doesn't quite fit. They really could have just done without the digital glitches, but I guess I understood why they put it in there. So anyways, the movie, I don't think I'm going to get into too many spoilers about this, because I actually think it's good to go into this not knowing how it's going to conclude, except that everyone's doomed.
Which is the way all found footage stories go.
The movie starts basically like, this footage was found, no one survived. And it's like, okay, we know basically they're all...
drama out of the movie?
It doesn't say no one survived, but it's basically suggesting that because we found the footage, no one got out alive. So
unless
you kind of are going into this.
I was going to say, unless it makes a lot of money, and then we're going to make a sequel, so somebody survived.
Yeah, for real. The movie takes it's a little rudimentary for about 45 minutes, I would say. It's a little like just going through the woods. Okay, we're camping, this and that. And there's a little bit of there's a couple of really subtle character developments in the film. Like we get to see how they interact with one another. We get to see, just through their behavior to one another, their backstory and who these people are. We even get to see a budding romance between the brother of Heather and the documentarian best friend. and they don't quite get together in the end or anything like that, but there is this acknowledged love that they have for each other, but it's kind of like hesitant at first until everything goes south, you know. So that was actually kind of sweet to see, despite, you know, the horror that's going on around them. That was actually kind of cool. But the movie takes a quick turn the second night they're out camping, when everything's pitch black. One by one, they go missing in the woods. The redneck couple, reappears. After having been revealed that the redneck couple kind of made up a few things about their story, which was an interesting twist to take. And then it just devolves into one after another, horror beat after horror beat, until the movie ends. And that was interesting. There was no relaxation at that point. It was just, oh my God, and just literally for like 30 minutes or 40 minutes on end. And this isn't a long movie. This is like 90 something minutes. So, you know, it's like get in, get out kind of duration. I really liked, I know Red Letter Media, we always bring up Red Letter Media on the show because they're a good barometer, but I actually really enjoyed this movie. It's not clear what the Blair Witch is supposed to look like, or if what we see is the Blair Witch, or if that's something else. But there is something we see in this film that's kind of monstrous, and we're not quite sure if it's the physical embodiment of the Blair Witch, or if it's a new part of the mythology, or what. This movie actually kind of reminds me of Jason Eisner's VHS 2 short, Alien Abduction Slumber Party.
That's a great title.
which was an excellent short film. It scared the living daylights out of me when I saw it. I thought, like, that was brutal, that was clever, it was creative. It was all from the perspective of a doggy camera. And these oh crap, Ken just dropped out.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. He'll be back, hopefully. We're still live though, so we'll keep pushing forward.
What was that? Let the bodies hit the floor. Let the bodies hit the floor.
No. What happened was, okay, that noise in the background was my brother. Okay. He's happy that my older brother is going to be having a baby.
Nice.
Very soon.
Congrats.
Next year. Not soon, but 9 months.
9 months, yeah.
So he's like, what the fuck? That's awesome. Whenever he gets happy, he gets really happy.
Jesus Christ.
So he's clearly happy. He's the guy that brought me Chick-fil-A that one day. Yeah, remember that he came in the room?
Yes, I'm aware of your brother. I've never met Bobby, but I think he's awesome.
He's a cool guy, yeah. He gets really overly excited about shit, which is funny.
It just keeps going.
Maybe I should mute myself. I don't know.
Well, you're the one doing the review here. I can try to take the reins and tell a joke, which is I want to pretend that the original Blair Witch and Harmony Korine's Trash Humpers take place in a shared universe.
It might take place in a shared universe of like dystopic, dirty, seedy neighborhoods or something. Yeah. I mean, in Blair Witch, they go into a rural area. That's kind of where Trash Humpers takes place. It takes place in like a rural town setting where it's just the denizens and the dregs of society. So it's entirely possible. But no, Blair Witch is a little too clean for that. Digitally clean, I mean.
Right.
Trash Humpers is all dirty, like even from the VHS, aesthetic. Blair Witch, I feel does deliver the creeps. I was thinking on the movie well after I got out of the theater. I was really not captivated, but I was just really engrossed in it. This might just be due to me being a fan of the original. I don't know, but I really felt Adam Wingard did right by this movie. It's not the same, even though it's the same essential plot. It's not the same execution. It's not the same
Well,
feel.
Well, in terms of like pop culture and marketing, there's no way it could be the same because like,
no, of course not. Yeah, it's like too much time has gone by.
Prior to Blair Witch, there was only the last broadcast, and that I wasn't even aware of that movie's existence until years down the line. Blair Witch had such a brilliant marketing campaign, and really, I mean, a lot of people praise the marketing more than they do the movie itself.
Yeah, I know, I agree. Which is a little unfair. I think the marketing was great and everything, but the movie itself stands on its own, I feel. They did a lot of interesting things, the directors, Eduardo Sanchez, and I forget who the co-director was, but they basically told these actors, okay, you're going to improvise, you're going to go in the woods, we're going to give you some direction here and there, but it's mostly just going to be you guys, and we'll do creepy things around you. We'll put up stuff on the trees. We'll play stuff on our boombox around your tents. We'll mess up your tents a little bit. We'll do stuff like that. In this movie, everything's a little heightened, maybe a lot heightened, like over the top heightened. Like tents fly up into the air, and people get picked out of trees, and they're crawling through mud and tunnels, and light shines through the buildings, the house, and it's almost like it's an alien thing, And I agree. Rather, half in the bag, they brought that up, that it's almost like an alien abduction, and I was kind of like, you may be right. It is kind of like that. That's why I compared it to Jason Eisner's short, and so. Yeah, this movie is like a weird cross-section of sci-fi and horror in some ways, but I think it's got a better head on its shoulders than they gave it credit for, the Red Letter Media folks. I think it's very clever. Clever is a word I keep bringing up with regards to Adam Wingard, but it's true. It's very crafty. It's very clever. It's very... I don't want to say it's like smart,